the garden of second chances. Rule 7. Love and kindness are timeless. They transcend age, appearances, and expectations. The garden was bathed in the golden light of a late spring afternoon, the air heavy with the scent of blooming lilacs. Camille, a spirited 24-year-old with fiery red hair and a penchant for adventure, stood under an old oak tree. Her heart raced as she watched Marianne, the elegant 48-year-old gardener whose presence was as calming as the flowers she nurtured. Marianne knelt by a bed of roses, her hands wrapped in gloves, delicately pruning the stems. Her silvery hair shimmered in the sunlight, and her movements carried a quiet confidence that captivated Camille. It wasn't just her beauty, it was the way she seemed to belong to the world without needing to prove anything to it. "Marianne," Camille said softly, stepping closer. Her voice was tinged with hesitation, but her gaze was steady. Marianne looked up, her kind gray eyes meeting Camille's. "Ah, Camille," she said, smiling gently. "You always find me in my favorite place." "I think it's becoming my favorite place too," Camille replied, her cheeks flushing. She sat down on the grass, her knees brushing against Marianne's. They talked about everything and nothing, the changing seasons, their favorite books, the peculiarities of life. As the sun dipped lower, Camille felt a boldness rise within her. "Marianne," she said, her voice softer now, "I think about you all the time. The way you laugh, the way you care for this garden, the way you make me feel." Marianne's hand paused mid-prune. She turned to Camille, her expression thoughtful yet warm. "Camille, I wasn't expecting this." "I know," Camille said, her voice trembling slightly, "but it's how I feel. You've taught me to see the beauty in small things, to be patient, to let myself love." Marianne chuckled, a low and melodic sound. "You have a poet's soul, my dear, but you're young. Life will offer you so much more." "I don't care about age," Camille said, leaning closer. "I care about you." Marianne's heart fluttered, a feeling she hadn't allowed herself in years. Yet she couldn't help but laugh, not out of mockery, but out of the sheer unpredictability of life. "You're impossible," she said, shaking her head. "And you're extraordinary," Camille replied, her hand brushing Marianne's. Marianne didn't pull away. Instead, she placed her hand over Camille's, their fingers entwining. "You're persistent," she said, her smile softening. "Only for the things worth fighting for," Camille whispered. The moment was tender, electric, and brimming with the unspoken. But just as Camille leaned in, a rustling sound interrupted them. From behind a hedge, Marianne's cat, Toulouse, leapt into view, knocking over a flower pot. The pot shattered dramatically, sending soil everywhere. Camille burst out laughing, breaking the tension. "Your cat has impeccable timing." Marianne sighed, shaking her head. "He always does. He's been my guardian for years." They spent the rest of the evening cleaning up the mess, sharing laughter and stolen glances. As the moon rose, Camille knew this was only the beginning. Marianne, still unsure but undeniably drawn to Camille's earnestness, smiled as she handed her a pair of gloves. "If you're serious about loving me, you'll have to get used to more than just flowers and cats." Camille grinned. "Marianne, I'm ready for it all." And in that moment, under the glow of the moonlight and the scent of lilacs, the garden became more than Marianne's sanctuary. It became their beginning.